Yes,
Okay,
thank
awesome.
you. So, yep, this is our theme this year, Preserving the Past, Empowering the Future, Ohio Academic Libraries. The conference is October 29th to 30th this year, a week earlier than it usually is if you have attended before, so that might just be good to know. And it's going to be at OCLC again in Dublin. So for those of us who are in the Columbus area, it'll be close by. And so this is our conference proposal prep webinar. We're going to give you some tips for proposing and kind of walk you through the proposal conference. My name is Mira. I am the OER librarian at Columbus State. I'm also the current secretary of ALAO and have been on the conference planning committee for a couple of years now. I'll let Emily introduce herself and then we'll get started.
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Emily Henderson. I am a reference and instruction librarian also at Columbus State, so I work with Mira a lot. And this is my second year on the conference planning committee, and I'm very excited to do this webinar for you all. Okay, so just kind of to get us started, we wanted to talk about why you might want to submit a proposal to ALAO. And really, it's just a great supportive place to do your first presentation. It's professional and competitive, but not like too competitive. And then there are a lot of opportunities for you to present to your peers from nearby institutions and for you to learn about your peers' work. So just to kind of dive into this a little bit more, last year was actually my first year presenting at ALAO, and truly, I really did feel supported throughout the entire process. There were always like clear lines of communication. If I had a question, there were a bunch of people to ask, and they were all so helpful when responding to me. Even on the day of, when I was like a little nervous to do my first presentation, like literally everyone around me, even if like they weren't the conference planning committee, even if they were just someone who was at the conference, was so nice and supportive and told me that they were looking forward to hearing our presentation. And just the whole thing was really awesome. And then it was also really rewarding to not only like get to listen to what other people talk about, but also get to kind of contribute to the conference myself. So it was just truly a great experience that hopefully you guys will all consider submitting a proposal to do as well.
And so, if you are considering submitting a proposal, it's important to think about what you might want to be talking about. And so, you can really talk about any project that you might want to show off. You can talk about a project that taught you a valuable lesson. So, it doesn't even have to be a successful project, it could be something that was actually really challenging or didn't go well at your institution. Definitely, people could learn from that too, or it could be something that went really well and taught you valuable lessons of success, which we would also love to hear about. It even doesn't have to be a finished project, it can be something that you're still working on. If you have some idea or some confidence about where it will be in November by the time you kind of finalize your presentation, people might want to hear about the steps that you're taking or what kind of process you're going through. It also doesn't have to be a project. So it could be a new approach to a common problem. It could be an effective practice that changed the way you work or any idea that you have that's worth sharing. I really recommend that when you are thinking about a proposal topic, you do consider the conference theme as well and try to tie your proposal to the theme. So this year, our theme is Preserving the Past, Empowering the Future, Ohio Academic Libraries. And if I was thinking about a proposal for that theme, I may be thinking of a program related to civic engagement, for example, that you do in your library, something you do in your library to preserve archival information or preserve information about your college or university, or ways that you're kind of empowering the future by doing something innovative at your library or taking steps technology wise or maybe new library system wise to really advance your work process.
Yeah, so I honestly think one of the big reasons we chose that theme was because we kind of hope this theme encourages proposals from really like any area of academic library work. So no matter what you do, we're sure you can kind of shoehorn it into that theme if you want. And even if it's not completely related, it's not going to be like a huge impacting factor in when we choose which proposals to actually accept. So yeah, so when you do go to write a proposal, there are actually four proposal types for our conference this year. So presentations are going to be those 50-minute sessions, probably the type of session you're most used to, where you get to talk about basically whatever you want for those 50 minutes. You can do kind of like a standard presentation where you're doing a PowerPoint. You can add in some engaging activities. You can add in some discussion questions. Really, it's kind of up to you. Those 50 minutes are your time to present on what you want to present on. We do just ask that you do leave some time for questions at the end, though, because there usually are quite a few from the audience. Our next type is actually new this year, so it is a discussion. This is also going to be a 50-minute session, but this is going to be where are going to lead attendees through kind of a guided conversation around a defined theme. So you can pick that theme, and then when you pick that theme, you can also come up with some guiding questions to kind of lead that discussion through that 50-minute time slot. Posters are another really popular one. This is a 60-minute session, but odds are you probably won't be talking for every single one of those 60 minutes. All of the posters are going to be set up in a common room, and then you'll share your topic, share whatever you have on your poster, kind of as attendees come up to talk to you. So this one's a lot more conversational, which I think can be really fun. And then lastly, we have our lightning talks, which are kind of just very mini versions of what you would do in a presentation. So instead of the 50-minute session, that is going to be split between four lightning talks. So you get 7 minutes to yourself to present, and then at the end, you will share a question and answer time with everyone else who has done a lightning talk in your time slot.
And so, if you have an idea for your proposal, which I hope maybe you're starting to think about, when you go to actually submit, there will be different parts of the proposal form that you will need to fill out. The first thing that you need to think of is a title, and your title can be cute and fun, but you don't want it to be cute and fun that people don't have any idea what you're going to be talking about. So, one way to get around that is a lot of time, maybe by having a little more of a serious subtitle. I know a few years ago I did a poster presentation on some of the Instagram reel work that we do in our library. And our first part of our title was Reeling in Students, but then we had a little bit more clarity about what we were going to be talking about in the subtitle. It's definitely important that whatever your title may be, cutesy or not cutesy, people are able to get a sense of what the process will be during your presentation, discussion, or whatever type of session you are proposing. You can also check out the past conference programs for different examples. Then you will need an abstract. So in that abstract, you'll tell us what you want to share, why it's important, useful, or fresh. For us, the abstract word limit is 200 words. And then you'll share how you want to engage the audience. And so you can really get creative here, no matter what your session type is. Even if you're just doing a poster session, you might want to say that you'll have little handouts with QR codes or ways for attendees to get more information. If you're doing a presentation, you might want to have a Padlet or a little bit of a poll kind of thing to get more input from attendees. So definitely kind of think that through and be creative. This year, we also in terms of audience, are going to have the ALAO interest groups pick proposals that they want to tag as being kind of aligned with the goals of their interest groups. And so while you're presenting, it's a good idea to think about which of the ALAO interest groups you think like most align or would be most interested in your topic. You'll also want to think of some keywords so it's easy for a conference attendee that may just be, scanning the calendar of sessions quickly before choosing their next one to determine if the proposal that you have given is going to be interesting to them. So thinking of some easy, simple, and descriptive keywords. And then finally, learning outcomes, which Emily is going to actually go a little bit more in depth about in a few moments. But these are really needed only for presentations. They're not required for posters or lightning talks, and they're a good way for session attendees to get a sense of what they'll be getting out of attending your session.
Yeah, and just as a quick side note, you might have noticed we had like some links in the last slide. I do have all of those to put in the chat. I just forgot before we started, and I can't see the chat right now since I'm sharing my screen, but I could put that in towards the end. So you'll have access to all of the links as well. But anyway, so learning outcomes. When writing them, really just try to be clear about what participants will gain from attending your presentation. That's really all these learning outcomes are. If it helps to think about a need or a problem it solves, that can be super helpful. And it can also help to think about like a target audience and how it might specifically benefit that target audience. When you're writing your learning outcomes, it really just is a verb and criteria, which sounds pretty simple. And I know we can kind of get in the weeds on it, but don't worry about it too much. If you do need help preparing your learning outcomes, the ALA primer on learning outcomes is extremely helpful. They kind of identify a lot of different verbs, help you kind of vary your verbs when creating learning outcomes, which is also kind of a good tip when you're doing the learning outcomes is to pick different verbs that participants will get out of your session. And yeah, again, just really pointing to that ALA primer. The link will go in the chat when we're finished.
And so now some kind of proposal do's and don'ts. One thing that's really important to do is to choose your session type wisely. I will say that I've presented or done a poster a few times now at ALAO. And actually, my first time I started with a poster, which was really kind of an easy way to get my foot wet with presenting and just kind of get a sense of what that would be like. And then the last two couple times I've done more presentations. But if you want to ease into it, a poster or a lightning talk is a really good thing to start with. And that also might be a good choice to make depending on how much time you think the content that you have will fill. So if you have something that you don't think is going to fill 50 minutes, you might want to choose a poster or a lightning talk too. But on the contrary, if you feel like you have a really big concept or idea that you want to share from your institution, then you might want to be considering doing a full presentation or even a discussion if you have a topic that you want to lead a discussion about. It's good to have an informative or and catchy title. Make sure that you're writing clearly in your proposal. Share how your presentation will be helpful, interesting to, or actionable by others. One good thing to keep in mind as well is it's really important to draft your proposal outside of the Google form. The Google form will not allow you to save your work, and so you don't want to start drafting it and then lose what you've come up with. I recommend drafting it somewhere else and then just adding it to the form at the last minute. And you can always have a colleague proofread your proposal. I would really recommend that. I have had many colleagues proofread my proposals, and even if your colleague is someone who's on the conference planning committee, or you know someone who's on the conference planning committee, and now you know us who are on the conference planning committee, and we would even be happy to take a look at your proposals. That's totally fine to do. We'll just make a note so we'll be exempt from reading them when the scoring actually happens. But we are happy to give you feedback. And if you have a colleague or a mentor in the field who you trust, definitely have them read it too. I also will say that one thing that has made starting with posters and presentations a lot easier for me has been making sure to have a co-presenter. I love to have a co-presenter. Emily has been my co-presenter a few times, and I feel like it just makes it so much more fun of a process and also so much more easy and kind of makes things a little bit smoother too. So definitely have a co-presenter if you want to. If you feel confident flying solo, that's very cool. I personally don't think I see myself doing that in the near future because also a lot of the time your work is also something you're doing with a lot of other people. And so having all the people who are working on something involved and sharing it just makes it kind of a richer presentation for everyone else to hear as well. If you do have a co-presenter or you are presenting it solo, make sure that you're clear on who's going to submit the proposal and be the point of contact, and make sure that you submit by the deadline. In terms of things not to do, don't just demo a product. So, unfortunately, this is not ad space. It is, conference presentation or poster. And so we really want to hear about something you're doing in your library, but not just something that you pay for that is helping you to do it. So do not please just demo a product. And also, definitely include your name, institution. Do not include your name, institution, or library name except in the bio because we will be anonymously scoring these presentations. And so if you include your name, institution, or library name, you unfortunately jeopardize your proposal even being able to be considered. You can actually submit as many proposals as you would like, which is something to think about too. You do only have so much time in the day, so I would maybe think about doing like a poster and maybe being part of a presentation or something like that. But you definitely don't want to do it everything at a conference. So if all of yours get submitted, you don't want to just be running around. But if you have a lot of things that you're working on in your library that you want to propose about, feel free to submit multiple proposals if you want. And we're excited to hear what you come up with.
Yeah, so just kind of a few like odds and ends things that we will ask for in the proposal submission form is speaker bios. So each speaker will need to submit a short bio. So if you are the one actually submitting your proposal and you have like co-presenters, make sure that you get their bios before you submit. But these can really be honestly like anything you want them to be. They're usually current job title and like a fact that relates to you or your job. It can even be something fun, but don't stress about this too much when you are submitting your proposal because you can change them later. The second thing is we do ask if you are comfortable with potentially having your session given to an in-person audience and also broadcast to the attendees of the conference who are watching from home. So this hybrid option, you do not need to say yes to. If you're not comfortable with that, that is totally fine. But I will say ALAO does take care of the setup and troubleshooting. Mira and I actually did the hybrid option last year, and it was super easy. All of the staff helped us. Like, we didn't have to set up anything. It was just there when we walked in the room, and then someone took it down when we were done. So it wasn't any extra work for us at all. And then those online attendees did also get to watch our presentation, which was pretty cool. So lastly, there are a few more agreements that you will just be asked at the end of the proposal form. You'll be asked if ALAO can put your slides on the site for members to view, and if we can record and make your session available if we do that hybrid option. These again, you do not need to say yes to. We just ask that you consider them. And then lastly, not even a part of the form, we do ask that you do actually register for the conference so that if you are accepted, you will actually get to come and present and do your presentation that you worked so hard on. So yeah, just those couple of things kind of like round out the application.
So one thing about presenting at ALAO that now that I've proposed to other conferences as well, I find really great is that we are trying to be super transparent about kind of the proposal process, and we are even providing the proposal evaluation rubric. So this will give you a sense of what we are going to be using exactly to score your proposals. So there are different things that you'll be scored on, like your title, clarity, take takeaways, currency, audience interests, relevance to conference theme, and or academic librarianship. It is important to note that the title and the adherence to the theme are things that are weighted a little bit lower than some of the other parts of your presentation. So you definitely don't need to like spend all your time thinking of a way to tie it to the theme or to make a title that's really catchy. As long as you have great content, that should definitely shine through. And it's also a good idea to note that currency is something that we do definitely value. So you don't have to come up with something brand new, but even if it's a program that has been done for a long time at your library, but you have a new spin on it or have found a way to make it more effective, that's something to definitely note.
Yeah, okay, and so now that we know all about, submitting our proposals, we can talk about the deadline. So the deadline to submit the proposals is gonna be the 24th of April. Again, I will put the link to the, submission form in the chat. It is also available on the ALAO website and already through a couple emails that we've sent out, but we will be sending out even more. So if you can't find the link in any other place, more emails will be coming before the deadline. And then also, we do have some grant opportunities available for support staff and students. So these actually aren't open yet, but they will open soon. And the grant process will be complete before you actually go to register for the conference. So basically, if you are awarded the grant, you will be able to say, hey, I was awarded the grant and register without paying any money. So those are really awesome. If you do look at them on the website, all of the information is up so you can read the guidelines, kind of the directions. You just won't actually be able to submit quite yet, but you can still look at those currently.
And then hopefully you're all in this boat of your proposal being accepted. And if it's not, don't be discouraged. Just submit again next year. And we are even happy to talk to you if your proposal is not accepted and give you a little bit of information about maybe why or what you could like. It's very open as a process. It's not a scary thing. But hopefully your proposal is accepted. And if so, the notifications will go out in June, which is nice because you actually do have quite a bit of time until the end of October when the conference is. You definitely want to plan your session over the summer. I will tell you, it seems like a ton of time, and then it gets closer and closer, and you're like, oh God. And I know that we all know the busyness of fall semester, and so taking some of that summer time to really plan your proposal is a good idea. And you'll also have a shepherd from the conference planning committee that will contact you. You can definitely ask them questions along the way, and you'll get periodic emails, reminders, and check-ins from them. I would recommend leaving time to practice and getting feedback from colleagues. The conference this year is at the end of October, and so I would actually try to have the presentation, poster, or whatever session you're doing complete by maybe the beginning of October, just so you have some time to practice and make any changes as needed. And then make sure you register for the conference and have fun. It's going to be a great time.
Awesome. So that is really all of the content that we have for you today. This is just our contact information. And then at any time, if you have questions, you can email program@alaoweb.org. This goes to quite a few members of the conference planning committee. So one of us will get back to you as soon as we can. So either way, if you prefer emailing us or that email, whatever works best for you is great for us. And
And like I
so,
mentioned,
yeah,
oh,
sorry,
I
you
was just
go,
gonna,
Mira.
no, I was just gonna say that, like I mentioned, we are totally happy to look at your proposals or answer any questions that you have. So feel free really to email us, in the time between now and the proposal deadline.
Yeah, and I'm going to stop sharing so that I can throw that in the chat, all the links for you all. Let me get that really quick. But in the meantime, does anyone have any questions while I try to find something?
Feel free to unmute yourself or put your questions in the chat.
Okay, so there's all the links for you all. So you should have access to that. And hopefully when we upload this to YouTube or whatever we end up doing, we can put the links like in the description too. So if anyone's watching this recorded, you should still have access to the links.
Hello, future users. But for those of you here today, are there any questions that you have? Anything you want even just clarification on before we wrap up?
Okay. Well, if not, remember that program at alaoweb.org email that also went out to you in the call for proposals, the emails that we've sent out. So you do have access to that, or you can always find contact information on the website too. But yeah, we won't keep you for any longer if no one has any questions. So thank you all for coming today. We appreciate it, and hopefully this was helpful, at least a little bit. And yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.